98% of people that are trying so hard, so desperately to lose weight and get healthy today are getting this all wrong. And I'm going to finish up our discussion about fat burning and fat storing hormones. So tune in. In case you've never met me before, my name is Almira Hinton. I am the RN health coach and the creator of this podcast, Nurses Notes by Almira. I'm here to give you the real scoop to educate you about weight loss, getting healthy mentally and physically. So let's get right into this episode. So, finishing up, yesterday I talked a lot about the 6 fat burning hormones. And I'm sure you're all pumped to get those particular hormones at their peak level and working for you. And you absolutely should be doing that. But today I'm going to share some information with you that many people get wrong all the time about fat storing hormones. Now, if you've been listening to this series, you probably already know one of the major fat storing hormones that I talk about over and over again, and that is insulin. Insulin. Our bodies produce insulin. Specifically, insulin comes from the pancreas, and it is the key. It carries the key to unlock to allow the energy from the foods that we eat, the calories that we eat, the sugars, the carbohydrates, the glucose into the cells to give them the energy that they need in order to do their processes. All right. So insulin is key for that. So we need insulin. We desperately need insulin. Without it, that key wouldn't be there to unlock the cell to allow the nutrients, the calories, the glucose to come into the cell. So it will have the energy that it needs. So the cells that are all over our bodies, all through our bodies, without insulin, that key to unlock, to allow those calories or that glucose to permeate through that cell to give it the energy that it needs in order for us to carry out our functions, thinking, moving, everything. Okay. So insulin is key, but too much insulin can cause something that we all probably heard the term before, insulin resistance. It means the cells actually start to ignore insulin and not let that key operate the way it should to open it up, that they become resistant. They essentially become deaf to the product that the insulin has to open up that cell membrane to allow that glucose in to give it that energy. All right. Also, there's a function in a lot of the resistance will also come from the liver because insulin will go to the liver and say, hey, I've got these extra calories. I've gone to the cells. I filled them up all that I could. I filled up the muscle all that I could. And now I'm over here at the liver saying, I've got these extra calories. I've got this extra glucose. I need you to put it into deep storage. And that deep storage is fat. Okay. Very simple, I'm sure easy to understand. If you have questions or comments, be sure to put them in the comment section or DM me. I'd love to hear what you think. And if you need some clarification about what we're talking about today, definitely reach out, ask. I'd love to hear from you. Anyway, so insulin resistance occurs really in 2 spots in your liver. Now, your liver is performing over 600 functions for the body, so it's really busy. And so insulin comes to the liver and says, okay, I filled up the cells with the glucose, with the calories that they need to function. I've given the muscles what they need to function. So I got all this extra. I got this extra. What am I going to do with it? And it takes it over to the liver. And the liver says, you've been here 6 or 7 times a day already. I don't have time for you. I'm not going to do it. It becomes resistant also. All right. I'm exaggerating about I'm not going, but again, the liver can become resistant also, doesn't pay attention to insulin because of the high frequency that it's been over trying to bring over this extra glucose. So everything becomes resistant. So in order for insulin to get the cells or the liver to do what it wants, it increases, it rises. So the pancreas has produced more. So the insulin levels are even higher to force the cells and to force the liver to to do the function of the storage. Insulin levels have to get higher and higher in order for the cells to pay attention or to cooperate in that function of storage. So there goes insulin resistance, okay? So insulin is a fat storing hormone, but we need it because we need that glucose to be transferred to the cells. But when we eat too much or we eat too frequently, we don't have that energy output for the food that we've taken in. It's got to be stored, okay? Has to be stored. Take in those calories. We either got to burn them and use them up with our exercise or with our work or whatever, with our breathing, with our sweating, with everything. Every function that we do requires some calories. But if we take in more than what we're going to utilize, then they got to get stored, okay? So insulin is a fat storing hormone. Also, during this series, if you've been listening at all, you also realize you think about what about cortisol? Yep, because I talked about that the other day in this series. Cortisol is released from the adrenals and it's in response to stress. All right. But we all get stressed, but it's like a prehistoric hormone because we used to be stressed about going out into the woods and things like that and getting chased by animals. That was stressful. And we release epinephrine, we release cortisol for short periods of time. But when we're constantly stressed, when we're stressed at home with the challenges there, when we're stressed at work with the challenges there, when we're stressed all the time, needs and things that we have to get done and things that we're not getting done and expectations that we feel like that we're not meeting, those stressors cause the release of cortisol. All right. And in the presence of cortisol, it becomes glucagon and things like that that open up for the sugars. They can't work. They can't work. The fat burning hormones cannot work in the presence of the fat storing hormones. And particularly insulin is key for that. And also with cortisol, body just can't do it. Can't do it. When cortisol is high, you don't have the fat burning hormones able to do their jobs. So that's why it's always so important to find ways consistently to find ways to release or reduce your stress, to bring it down several notches so that the body can feel that release, so that your mind can feel that relief, and you will be able to function a lot better. So the whole body functions off that. And the whole process of cortisol is due to stress, all right? That unseen factor that's all in your head, okay, about your thoughts and your beliefs and the things that you're doing. So those stressors cause the release of cortisol. And when you're not able to relax, remember when I talked about before taking care of yourself, getting that downtime, whether that downtime is taking a walk in nature, which is hugely beneficial, or that bath, or just sitting in silence for a bit and being quiet and allowing that release to occur, cortisol remains high. And just so you know, cortisol can direct where fat is being stored. And that's why if you get a hanging or a sagging belly, typically that is due to the stress from cortisol, okay, from having high cortisol levels. And once cortisol is released, it's really challenging to get it reduced because once it's out there, it's like it's out doing the work and it can take a fair bit to get all that cortisol that's been released. And because we release it so frequently, if you're stressed at work and you're stressed at home and you never take any downtime, then it's constantly being released. And that relates to the fat storage, okay? Cortisol facilitates fat storage and it doesn't allow your fat burning hormones to work efficiently, okay? It's all tied into that stress. Again, if this education, this knowledge supports you, be sure and comment and let me know. And if it's not clear what I'm saying, again, send me a comment, send me a DM, let me know that you need some clarification about this because I want you to have this information. It appeals to your conscious mind, the logical part of you, okay, to your conscious mind. And you think, okay, this all makes sense. Well, in order to make real long-lasting changes. You've got to get to your beliefs and you've got to get to your habits. And that's all in that unconscious mind. And that's where that meditation work, where that relaxation, or maybe a one-on-one session with me with hypnosis is where you get to those unconscious beliefs in order to get those things changed. Because really, you start wondering why you're smoking, stress, cortisol release, why you're eating extra food, why you're looking for that relief, for that satisfaction, for that downtime through food. You might be taking in extra calories as that comfort measure. And that's the reason why you're not able to get healthy or to lose the weight that you want. Okay. So the third fat storing hormone, and ladies, I'm sorry, and men, because men have estrogen also, is estrogen. Estrogen is a fat storing hormone. That's why when women take extra estrogen, like in the form of birth control pills or something like that, they might see some weight gain come on because estrogen is a fat storing hormone, particularly around the hip areas. So while some fat definitely is needed there and shows there, excess fat is not particularly healthy in those areas. And so estrogen sometimes can be the culprit as to the reason why you're storing extra fat. And if you are running high estrogen levels, and this can happen in men also, they can have excess estrogen. It suppresses testosterone, which, if you remember from my talk yesterday, that's a fat burning hormone. So estrogen can suppress testosterone. And you may think, what are we supposed to do? Estrogen's natural in our bodies. Yes, normal levels are naturally occurring in our bodies, but sometimes there are a lot of estrogen mimicking like substances that we take in. Soy, for instance, can mimic estrogen and cause fat storage, additional fat storage. A lot of artificial fillers and things like that can mimic estrogen, so they can act like estrogen and cause that storage. So you have to look for those estrogen-like foods, particularly in soy. A lot of times they'll appear as meat replacement foods that you see in some of these meat burgers or burgers that aren't real meat. They'll have some estrogen in quite a bit. If you look at the burger, I think that Burger King might produce, if you look up some of the qualities of that, some of the details about it, you'll see that there'll be some estrogen mimicking like compounds in there. And they're found in a lot of things. It's found in a lot of things. And so that's why being aware and being conscious of what you're taking in. And throughout this whole series, I talk about the intake of whole foods, whole natural fruits and vegetables and meats that are good for you, that support the functioning of the body. It's a lot of times when you don't know those things are in your foods, is from artificial foods and artificial fillers. So a lot of times when they remove a fat from a food, like you'll see something fat-free or low fat, they're going to fill it with things like modified food starches and things like that will trigger insulin because it's a carbohydrate that could trigger insulin, and you don't even know it. And you think, I didn't eat any sugar. It's because the modified food starch or that filler triggered or increased the level of estrogen or increased the level of carbohydrate or increased your blood sugar and the need for insulin to come out. All right. So I hope this information appeals to your conscious and your logical mind, and you're able to take a step back and look at things in a more logical manner and think, okay, I need to cut out some of these foods that are processed, highly processed foods that you really don't know what you're eating. When you're looking at beef, you know that you're eating beef. When you're looking at pork, when you're looking at chicken, things like that, a lot of times, sometimes those foods that have fillers, but that's why you're trying to get it as natural and without those fillers and hormones and things like that as you can, because they have an effect on your body. They have an effect on your body. So if nothing else, if you take a look up on top of your fridge and say, these cereals got to go because they're full of carbs, they're full of sugars that are triggering insulin, and they're not supporting me health-wise, I will feel fantastic that you look at your food in a different manner now, as food as fuel for your body, as food as nourishment for your body, and not necessarily a comfort food like a bag of potato chips or something like that, or a piece of cake or a donut and things like that, or pretzels, that those things don't really support a healthy human being. They're just calories that stimulate insulin that come out and make that storing even more possible. So again, my name is Almira Hinton. I thank you for listening. Please subscribe. Please can subscribe and definitely share this episode with someone that you think that might benefit from it. Maybe a spouse or a partner, someone else in your household, or maybe your children, so they can understand why you're looking at making changes to your diet to support the healthier, vibrant you. Okay. So you can just unburden yourself with those lifestyle changes and make it so much easier on yourself, and why unburdening yourself will help reduce your stress, thereby reducing your cortisol levels so that you can feel better and allow the natural fat burning to occur. All right. So there's several ways that you can continue to listen to me, either on the podcast or over on YouTube. Not sure where you'll be taking this information in, but please be sure and subscribe. And if you're on the podcast, particularly if you're using the Apple Podcast player, I'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave a positive review if you think this information has supported you. But if you're seeing me over on YouTube, be sure and subscribe. That helps me out a lot. And comment, because I'd love to know that this information is helping you and supporting you in your healthy lifestyle. So all this information should appeal to your conscious mind because it's logical and it makes sense. But a lot of times we got to get to those beliefs and we got to get to changing those habits so that you can live the life that you want and be the healthiest version of you that you can possibly be. And in this 30-day series, I'll be addressing that also. All right. Until tomorrow, I think that's day 6. I'm losing track, but I'm keeping up here. I'm keeping up, staying in integrity here. And we'll talk about that. My name is Almira Hinton. I am the RN health coach and creator of this podcast, Nurses Notes by Almira. And I will talk to you tomorrow about staying in integrity. So we're tying all this together and how it can work for you. All right. I'll see you tomorrow.